Are you operating from other people's opinions, or are you operating from your own personal truth? If you notice yourself operating from other people's opinions, now is your wake-up call to begin to surround yourself with those people who can support, love, and help you in any way possible. To reaffirm your own beliefs and your own opinions on your own life. When you do, you change other people. They see an example of someone being happy at the very least. So today is all about people's opinions of ourselves and other people. And I'm going to let you in on what people say about me, okay? Because it's really, really important. If we want to be able to step up our game, to live our life to the full, and to achieve our dreams in every way, we have to consider a new strategy of reacting to other people. Because at the end of the day, people will try to bring you down. People will try to maybe say mean things about you and your dreams. People might be saying that, why are you going for that dream? Why are you doing this? Why do you want to let go of that issue for that matter? It can be one of those situations where people are just trying to dictate your reality, and they're trying to dictate how you should be in this world. So I want to let you in on what people say about me, okay? This is going to be really fun because I've always had the thing of trying not to look at my reviews, but I do because I want to make sure I'm delivering at the very least on a functionality level on my apps, on my podcasts and everything like that. And also, I want to know what people are saying about my work. I mean, that can be quite important. I'm putting my stuff out there. I'm putting out all my audios, my videos. I haven't actually looked at my YouTube ones yet. Maybe I'll do an update on that. But I want to be able to talk to you about other people's opinions and why ultimately they don't matter. I'm going to say it straight, that other people's opinions do not matter to when it comes against who you are as a person, where you're heading, and what you want to achieve. So it's going to be really fun. So who wants to hear a few words about what people are saying about me? Who would like to hear some reviews of what people have said about me? If you do, I will go ahead straight into them. Okay, I think people want to hear them. So I was looking back just about 10-15 minutes ago about this subject, about people's opinions. Oh, someone's saying Periscope is not working. So I'm not sure if people are hearing me on Face. I'm going to keep it running anyway, and I'm going to be able to check it on the replay. So sorry, Periscope people, if you're not seeing this, but I'm going to just put it out there anyway, and you'll be able to hear this on the podcast at another time. So I put my stuff out there to the world, and with doing so, you're going to get people saying things about you and your desires and your dreams. So I'm just looking at I know this is a bit back and forth. This is very new. I'm going to get over the glitches and see what's happening here. I think we're just going to close down Periscope if you can't. Okay, we're going to just keep it going anyway. Sorry about this, guys. There's a technical hitch. I want to make sure that everyone can get this information. So I put my work out there, and I knew the nature of doing so will cause other people to have an opinion on that. People will begin to say things about your dream and your vision. I mean, I'm sure that you have a dream, and maybe people have said certain things to you. So let's go straight into what people said about me. So Elizabeth said on one of my reviews, I find him strangely inarticulate, so his message gets lost in gobbledygook. So that's one. TJ says, each time the word relax is said, it made me want to punch him on the face. So that's another way. This person actually wants to punch me in the face. Jackie says, not hypnosis, just a guy who is redundant. So I'm a redundant person, right? So this is what people are saying. There's a great one. Nivian says, you suck, it's just bull, swear word, be repeated forever, whatever that might mean. Sarah says, this is not Sarah, my PA, I hope. Sarah, if that's you, better not be you. Sarah says, I have a hard time keeping my vomit in. He's just so full of himself. Troy says, a con man that wants money. A lot of empty talk, no hypnosis. He likes to blow smoke and he wants to tell you feel-good lines. John says, the most annoying man ever to walk this planet. So I've now just won the award of the most annoying man to walk this planet. How awesome is that? And then Sarid says, sounds more like a small town radio station DJ, and a bad one at that. Talks nonsense in a weird, contrived accent. Very off-putting. App deleted. Well, Sarid, that's my voice. I mean, I can't change that. That's just who I am. So when you think about all the things that I just read out right there, people will say mean things about us. And that's okay. I mean, when I look at those, there's many more online, I'm sure you'll be able to find them, but there'll be many more of people saying things about myself, like my personality. And these are just some of the best ones. My accent, I can't help my accent, right? Making people want to vomit. That's a little bit of a strong one, but I really can't. So Alicia just said, what's happening? So if you just joined this, it might sound a little bit strange. So I just read some of my bad reviews. Like one of the best ones was the most annoying man to walk this planet. So there's lots of people's opinions coming at you all the time. And if you have a dream, and it's a big dream, and it's a big goal, then you will have to stand up for those for yourself. You're going to have to still do it anyway. You're going to have to realize that other people's opinions are absolutely none of your business. And that's the key here. Other people's opinions do not have to dictate who you are as a person, who you are authentically, where you want to be and where you want to go. And at the end of the day, other people's opinions are based on their past experience. So each one of those people there, yes, that's their opinion, but that's only their subjective point. That's only something that they feel is true, okay? And usually, and here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Usually, people are saying these things through their own limitations. Now, I'm not saying that they are limited in every way or in a real negative connotation to that person. But what I'm saying is that those other people's opinions are based on their own judgments, and sometimes their own judgments are more about themselves rather than your dream, okay? So more people's... I'm going to turn this iPhone one off because it's definitely not working. So hopefully that's turned off now. Let's just see. Yeah, that should be turned off. So sorry about that, Periscope guys. You're going to have to jump onto with the Facebook crew. We've been doing this for far longer, but hopefully Periscope people, I'll get right back to you. But like I was saying, that people's opinions of you are only judged by their own perception and their past experience, and that is a limitation. The very nature of having a subjective viewpoint is that you're limited based on your past, present experiences in the world. This is not about you when they say something about you. That is only their belief system or their thoughts or their opinion of you, and that does not have to matter, and it absolutely does not have to be any of your business. Anyone who's made any big change in the world, I promise you there were doubters. I promise you they probably got hate mail, they tried to be repressed and all those things, yet they did it anyway. Why? Because they thought and they knew in their heart that's who they are and where they want to go. And I urge you to really not care about other people's opinions. Now, your brother, your mother, your sister, your children might be saying dad or your name or whatever role they're living in. They might tell you not to do something. They might try to restrict you, and it doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't mean that they're trying to hurt you on purpose. But what they're really doing is they're just basing something on their own opinion. That's all. And that opinion absolutely does not have to be your reality. Other people's opinions do not have to be your reality. Now, you may take them on. You may consider them. But you do not have to agree with them. You do not have to abide by them. You do not have to live by them. You just have to maybe understand them. You might just absorb them to a point, take on the good stuff, and then resonate with what you really want. That is what we have to do if we want to create a movement of change in our life. If people are saying horrible things about you, we have to create this foundation. And I'm going to give you a few ideas of how you can do this. I'm not just going to say, look, just don't pay attention, because I know it's hard. And trust me, I know it's hard because that's what I've been doing with my work. I put it all out there, and I hope that it's helping people. I didn't know in the beginning, but I did it anyway. And despite the bad reviews, despite other people's opinions of my voice and how I speak, my accent, even the way I look, all those things, people will say those things, but it's not going to stop me being my authentic self. If you have a dream, if you have a desire, if you have something calling within you that just fills you up with joy, or a challenge, or something which will allow you to live a life of meaning, which I really think the meaning of life is just living meaningfully, to go full out and to really achieve your dreams. That's what we must do. We can buy into society. We can buy into what our mother or father says. Now, as I said, people have said this to me. Some of my friends did in the beginning. They thought, one particular one didn't think I'd make a living out of hypnosis. They just thought, it's just not going to work. It doesn't work that way. And my dad, who is the most amazing person in the whole world to me, who actually led me on this path, was very doubtful of my process of trying to put so much free content out there. And I understood his viewpoint. I mean, that was not negative at all. But I did what I wanted to do anyway. Despite if he was right, despite if I was right too. There's like two different paths, there's multiple paths, there's so many different types of things we can do. But you have to go by your own love for life and your own self-worth and your own passion. You have to do what is right for you. This is something that we have not been taught. This is something that we've been ingrained to pay attention to what people think you should do. We see it in the media. We see it in the magazines. So those trashy magazines or the reality TV show. I don't listen or watch any of those things. I did when I was younger, because why? It's all around us. We see it everywhere. If I look at the Facebook trend, and it's the most ridiculous stuff on there, which is nothing of value to me. Now, it could be for other people, but those media outlets, magazines, they may try to hold us back. They might try to get us to buy into the system. They might try to make us be a certain way, usually for money, usually for control of some sort. At the end of the day, they're businesses. The media is a business. So we have to pay no attention, because it's none of our business. Your business is on you. Your business should be on your desires. Your business is your self-development and whatever keeps you safe, which to me is education. Educating our mind and developing those foundations and just really putting ourselves out there to do and be who we need to be in this world. Right now, and we all know this because the media gets through everywhere, big things are happening around the world, and there's a kind of time where we must look for the helpers in the world. There's where we should look to ourselves and go, look, now is the time to live and to do what I desire, to live a life of emotional freedom, to begin to just live life in a way which gives us that meaning, which causes us to wake up in the morning and just jump out of bed. They're the type of things. I know, I promise you this, I wake up around 7:30 a.m. 8 a.m. every day. I can work late sometimes, but as soon as my eyes open, I am jumping out, and I don't feel like brushing my teeth sometimes, because I want to get out there and do what I do, because I'm so passionate about that. I want to just be me authentically. Of course, I do brush my teeth and do all those things, but there's that part of me going, I want to go out there and put my stuff out in the world, or to work, or to live life and do those things, regardless of what people think of me and my dreams or my desires. I am going to just become congruent in who I am. I am going to do whatever it takes to be me. If it makes me live and it makes me thrive, people, those in your life, will see someone happy. They might not see that person happy right now. If you tell them your dream, if you say, I want to be even free of an issue, and they go, oh, you've had that fear or phobia forever, you're never going to do it, or you've seen many therapists, you've done all these things, or you're going from one job to another job, when are you going to ever settle down, all those things. How are you meant to be able to make money? Because they're basing it on their own opinion. They're basing it on their own circumstance. And guess what? What they were told. Who told them? Maybe society. Maybe it was their parents. Maybe it was their peers. Maybe it was their teacher. All those things. They're just basing it on their past experience, based on their past education. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it does not have to be a reality for you. We do not have to buy into these opinions of other people about you. There's all about you. There's about you and your life. But the day you start to go, look, I'm going to take responsibility for all in my life. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to feel uncomfortable. I'm going to push beyond my comfort zone. I'm going to just hustle away. I'm going to do whatever it takes and just be me, go for my dreams, go for my desires. And although they might be still doubting you, you might even get some haters. However, they will do either two things. They will either see someone living to their potential, which gives them an example of how they can do that themselves, because usually they have had no example. And that's why they have that viewpoint. That's why they have that belief system. That's why they think that way. That's how their opinion was formed, because they've not been told otherwise. They haven't got an example of how they should be or what they should do. So they just carry on doing what they've always been told. They're just buying into that. So they're just repeating the process over and over again to those around them. But if you change, they will now see an example of someone who is living life to the full, going for their dream, even going through the stress of getting to that dream, because it can take hard work. With my personal business, I had to create over 200 hours of just free content. 200 hours, let alone let alone editing, let alone hosting, and all those post-production and pre-production, all those things, let alone any paid programs I might have. Even doing these things, it takes time, but it allows you to be you. If you want to be able to make that change, you make that change, and they see an example of someone being their potential, and they go, I want some of that too. Now, the second thing they might do is this. They might carry on the hate. They might keep on saying the same things. But if you keep on doing what you do, they will either see an example still, or they won't be attracted to you anymore. They will just be out of your frequency. You see, when we are stuck in their opinion, you're operating from the same frequency, the same mindset, the same set of feelings that they feel. But as soon as you start to change your frequency of I can and I will, I'm going to do whatever it takes, I'm going to get to where I want to be, you're pushing your frequency up to your desires. You're matching the frequency of what you want in life, and then life begins to instigate in your favor and conspire in your favor. And by doing so, you have a separation, and that person is no longer attracted. They either just go on their merry way, or you're just so above that, not in just terms of egotistical stuff, I'm just saying in your goals and your dreams, you're operating from a different level, then there'll be no connection there anymore. So you got two ways, and I always hope for the first way, because I want people to see an example of myself being how I want to be, and then they go, I want that as well. And I hope You get that from me. I mean, I'm only saying these things because I want you to be able to hopefully pick up some knowledge that I've learned over the years, or what I've learned from absorbing and reading so much and going on trainings, going on seminars, surrounding myself with people who've got what I've wanted. I did all that stuff, and I hope that you begin to pick that up as well. Because I think if you realize, and by the way, if you can buy into one opinion of anyone, please believe in the opinion that I have for you, and that is that you're worthy and you're good enough and you're capable to achieve what you want. You might be going through the hardest time in the world right now. You might be plagued with fear. You might have doubts and you might not know how to get there, but just realize that you have all the resources you need to do what you need to do. Unfortunately, we're usually focusing on all the things we don't want and attracting more of it. We just have to educate yourself. And I'm here to help you with that. I mean, check out all my free stuff. It's all free, nothing to do. You just download it, listen, absorb, and learn and grow. Take what you want and get better with each and every time. But just do whatever it takes. Even if it's not my work, you keep on searching for the answers. You keep on doing what you need to do to be authentically you, and to refuse to buy into other people's opinions, because those opinions of other people are only based on their past experience or what they were told, and how they were maybe surrounded themselves with other people who told them the exact same thing. We have to stand up. This is a time right now that I really believe that we have to surround ourselves with the right people. And I think that is one of the biggest keys if you want to make changes. If you've got people in your life, on the one hand, saying, hey, Joe, you can't do that. Hey, Joe, you'll never be able to make that dream. You'll never be able to do those things. And you've got those people on the one hand. What I'm going to do, I'm going to find people who believe in me. I'm going to find the one or two people who go, you know what, Joe, you can do this and I'm going to support you. If you need any help, just let me know and I'll support you in any way that I can. Or you surround yourself with people, even don't say that, but they're just living their life to the full, and you surround yourself with those people. You allow more people to enter your life, which will change your frequency and allows you to be who you want to be. That's what we have to do. We might have family members. We might have that mother. We might have that father. We might have that brother or sister. We might have that person who will say those things. But the key is, they can say those things. That's their right. I mean, we should never be offended by other people's opinions. It's none of our business. People say, Joseph, what's your view on this religion or that religion or sexuality? And I literally go, look, it's none of my business. As long as people are doing good in the world and they're living life to their full and they're doing it with love and happiness and things like that and not hurting other people, they can just do what they do. Because we sometimes pay attention too much to other people's lives and other people pay too much attention on our life. We just have to be and know that, look, other people's opinions do not have to be a reality. So we allow, as I was saying, that if we have those people in our life, we add more people contrary to that belief, or those people who you want to be like, those people you want to model and you want to surround yourself with, those positive people, those successful people. If you want to get better at money, hang around with people good with money. If you want to be happier, hang around with the most happiest person you can ever find. If you want to be more confident, hang around with those confident and competent people. And to be honest, if you ask them for help, they probably will help you. Because everyone loves to be told that they're good at something. Everyone likes to be said, you know what? You are so confident. How do you do that? You're so confident. How do you do that? I think that's the most amazing thing that you're doing that. I wish I was like that. If someone if anyone has asked you that, you'd be like, wow, that's awesome. That person is seeing me for who I am. That person is seeing who I authentically am. So we ask those people, we surround ourselves, we hang around with those people until it begins to just nourish you. And then those one or two people who you may not want to escape because maybe they're your family members, it means less. You realize that's just their opinion. They can do what they need to do. They can be who they want to be. They can say those things. But now I know I've got my support group. I've got people who believe in me. As I said, I want to be your biggest supporter too. I want to be able to help you in any way that I can. I want to be able to give as much as I can, but we have to have this group, and I've always wanted that group, and I'm doing something with that in the near future, like a momentum group, or like a mind mastery, I've called it so far, where we actually stay connected together on a group level, where I can help you and you can help other people, you can ask questions, and we just begin to support each other. And it becomes like an online Facebook group. It becomes monthly calls where I get to speak to you and answer your questions, all those things. That's where I'm starting to head. I feel like that's a big calling for me, to be able to have more interaction with you. But at the end of the day, you have to be you. If you're not being you, then everyone loses. Because that person in your life is not being with the person who's not authentic. You have to be you, and when you be you, then you will transform them in the end. That's my firm belief. You will transform them in the end. They'll see, I might not agree with your goal. I might not agree how you even got there. I might have doubted you back then, but you know what? Ever since you started doing that, you look happy. So just be happy. And I think that's the key. We have to just be the example of who we want to be in this world. Be the proof that you can make a change. Be the person who's going to just love life and refuse to buy into those society's expectations, other people's opinions, all those things. We have to stand up, step up, and do whatever it takes. Add more people into our life, which will nourish and support us. If we be and do that, we begin to just radiate our desires. And when we start, as I said earlier, that person's viewpoint is here. If you start to be your viewpoint, you're changing your frequency. When you do that, you radiate what you want. And I believe whatever you want wants you. So if you radiate what you want, that's going to be attracted into your life. If you believe in praying, those kind of things, if you believe in law of attraction, if you believe in just on a neurological level where the brain is geared and wired up to seek out more of the same, it all works. Whatever your opinion is, it doesn't matter. But the more you radiate your desires and act upon it with conviction and surround yourself with those who will support you, all those things, those other people will either cease, you'll either cease to be concerned by them because you just realize it's their stuff and not yours. And it's because it's none of your business. You have no right in even engaging that opinion as truth. Because it's not truth. It's they could be right, they could be wrong. All I know is that if you want what you want and you're doing it out of love and you're doing it out of passion, you're doing it out of meaning, that is right for you. Because what those people may want for you might be right, but it's right for them. It's just their belief system, so it must be right for them. I mean, Henry Ford said, whether you think you're right or wrong, you're right. And there's the same thing here. Whatever their opinion is, that's their stuff. And you have no right to believe in their stuff or to buy into it. You just have to believe into what you want out of life and do that. I think that can be a huge instigation of change. That can be the thing. As I said earlier, if you just jumped on, I was reading some people's reviews about me, and I was just saying that, look, if you want to make changes in the world, if you want to be you, you're going to get haters, you're going to get doubters, you're going to get people putting their opinion right in your face, but it doesn't have to stop us. It hasn't stopped me, and I'm not anyone big in any way. I'm just someone who's trying to share some information to you through my own struggles and through my own experiences and my reading and my learning and so on like that. I just want to be able to share with you that other people's opinions do not have to be a reality. So I think I'm going to leave it there because I think I want you just to consider that. Be very open-minded. Consider this. As you think about an issue or a problem in your life, are you addicted to your story?
Are you addicted to that story in some way? And I'm not just saying consciously. It may be an unconscious process, but we've got to be honest with ourselves. Do we think of that problem and kind of get comfort from keeping it? Because when you think about it, it allows us a level of comfort when we're just thinking about that issue. Well, I can't achieve my goal because I have low confidence. I'd really go for that job, but my anxiety keeps me back. So we begin to buy into the labels that we have. We begin to consider that that struggle is a part of our identity or who we are as a person. And because of that, our perception of the opportunities around us begin to change. In fact, they begin to limit us as a person. So as we buy into that struggle or that chapter of our life where we are struggling when it comes to our goal, or even into your story, the story of a problem that you may have, because we all know this in other people, by the way. I mean, do you have a friend or have you known someone who always considers that if it's going to happen to them, they're the person it's going to happen to? So they'll say, well, I just knew it was going to happen. I knew if it's going to happen to me. And it's like they buy into that personality, that things happen to them. So if something's going to happen, they're the person who does it because they attract it in their life. It becomes a part of their perception. If that was no longer a part of their life, they will feel a sense of loss, a loss of meaning, a loss of identity. So you've got to be very, very true to yourself right here and right now. As you consider maybe an issue in your mind or maybe a goal that you've been working for, are you buying into your story? And by buying, I mean, are you allowing that story to disable you when it comes to achieving your goal? Are you enjoying a certain level of struggle? Is the issue that you're having in your life actually giving you some value? I mean, let me put another context for you. Imagine that someone has manic depression. I'm not saying, say for example, you have manic depression. I'm not saying this is you just like that, but just consider this as an analogy. Someone who may have depression may not be able to work because of that psychological issue. And we can see why that would be the case. I mean, it's a horrible issue. I've been depressed. I've been anxious. So I fully resonate with that. But let's consider the story a little bit further. That person is no longer able to work, so they get some form of welfare from the state or from the government. Quite rightly so, because they just can't deal with life right now or dealing with a job because it's too stressful to them. Maybe their partner or maybe their friends begin to look out for them, and as soon as there's a bit of stress in their life, they'll pick up the phone to that person who's depressed to support them. Maybe people would do things for that person. Now, after a period of time, although maybe not conscious, that person will begin to get some value from maybe keeping the issue, because now they don't have to work, because they're getting money to just live. As I said, I'm being very honest here, and I want you to be honest as you consider your issue. I'm not saying you do this consciously. But in some way, the brain can begin to learn and to get satisfaction by keeping the issue. We call it like a secondary gain, where by keeping the issue, they're getting a form of gain from it. And that's something you've got to be very clear of. So when you consider your goal and you consider your struggle, are you getting value from that struggle? Are you getting some form of gain which is keeping you where you are? Maybe you're self-sabotaging yourself because you're getting a gain from keeping the issue. Another example would be, I know I've worked with many people who have panic attacks or migraines, and they usually happen under stress naturally. So that person with a migraine, it tends to happen where maybe in the workplace, for example, lots of stress, so their body gives the symptoms of the migraine, which causes them to get outside of that situation. So the intention there, or the secondary gain is, I can get out of that situation by this signal. Not conscious, but the unconscious mind begins to learn the law of least effort. And if that law of least effort is just to get you out of that situation or self-sabotage in some way, it's going to do it because it thinks it's doing a good job. So every issue we have has a positive intention. And I explained that very well in my previous video, which is called Intention, Connection, Transformation. So be sure to watch that as well, because this is very similar to it. So let's just consider that that person may be getting a gain by keeping the issue. And sometimes we can even consciously buy into that form of struggle, as I personally did when I was younger. I thought that struggle was a part of a chapter of my life I could speak about one day. But I began to buy into it so much, I expected struggle. I expected scarcity. I expected people to maybe fail on me, or for myself to personally fail, because I knew that was part of a struggle. Failure in some level will make me stronger as a person. It will cause me to write about it in a book one day. So intentionally, it was a good thing, but I began to buy into it too much. And then I had that awakening moment that I was thinking that struggle was a part of my process of success. Now, that does not have to be the case. You do not have to struggle to be successful. You do not have to go through fear, anxiety, and worry to be successful. You can make changes without it. But it's also about the conscious mind here. There's where the honesty comes in. You have to affirm to yourself even, that I am no longer going to buy into my struggle. I'm going to take complete responsibility for my life and do whatever it takes. I'm going to affirm that every day, that I'm no longer going to buy into my story of how I am like I am. Rather, being an effect of life, I am going to take responsibility. Because when I brought into my struggle, I would think about that in my mind. I would create these amazing movies of how I struggled and then I succeeded. And it began to be a process or a suggestion, an evaluation to my unconscious mind that should happen. So when we have those thoughts, they become evaluations to our mind and body, and therefore we begin to look out for more struggle. So now you've got to take responsibility for where you are. You've got to take complete responsibility to no longer buy into your story or your struggle. You've got to take responsibility that now is the time that you are going to make changes and you are going to thrive right now in every way. And as soon as you have that thought of struggle, or I can't do this because I have this issue, you have to consciously command yourself that that is no longer an evaluation. That is no longer an expectation in my mind. And I'm going to expect different results. Because when you start to do this over a period of time, this will become the new strategy for you. As soon as that struggle comes up, you begin to look for something else. You begin to go exactly where you want to in the future. So no longer buy into your struggle. Set your evaluations far higher and in the positive, because your mind, or your focus in your mind, will dictate your results. So rather focusing on struggle, begin to focus on abundance. Begin to focus on challenging, or maybe challenges, but do it in a way which empowers you, which you no longer buy into society's expectations or other people's expectations in your life, or even those past expectations when it comes to buying into your struggle or the story of you. So this is your conscious honesty time. You have to really stand up and go, hey, now is the time I'm going to be free of my struggle. I'm going to break free of my struggle. I understand that what I was trying to do, but now I'm going to empower myself and do something else. I'm going to put my attention and intention as to where I'm heading and refuse to buy into anything less even, because I know that this will become the evaluation to my unconscious mind. And from now on, I'm going to communicate powerfully to my body. I'm going to harness my body, and it's going to respond to the new direction that I'm heading. Because that focus was no longer looking for my story or looking for limitation or looking for my struggle. It was looking for opportunities. And then those opportunities began to appear in my mind, because there's a part in our brain called the reticular activating system. Very much like when you decide on buying a new car, you begin to see it everywhere. You decide, or you learn a new word, you see that word popping up everywhere. Now those things were always there, but they were outside of your conscious awareness, because maybe you were looking for the struggle or looking for buying into a limitation. But now when you start to allow your evaluations and your suggestions to be on success, that part of the brain will begin to look for more of it, and therefore it's serving you in the right way. So be clear on this. Stand up for yourself and really allow yourself to command yourself that I am going to take responsibility for my life. I'm not going to buy into that old struggle. I am going to be abundant, and I'm going to thrive off every challenge. I'm going to learn from every event. And that will cause you to be far more successful, far more quickly in every way. That is very small in its idea of buying into our struggle, but so profound in the results that you get when you begin to train up your mind. So as soon as that struggle, or you're thinking about buying into your struggle, your story, say no. That is not who I am. That is a past behavior I picked up, and now I'm generating this new behavior. As you do that, your unconscious mind will set up new pathways. And finally, I will leave you with this metaphor. Imagine an overgrown garden. And in this overgrown garden, there's an idea that if you were to walk down one route of that overgrown garden for a period of time, what would happen? What would really happen there? Well, what's going to happen there is you're going to begin to tread down a pathway. You're going to tread down a pathway, and it's going to become easier and easier to think that, or to walk down that way. Now let's translate that overgrown garden as your brain. And that continuous pass forward of the struggle was so easy to buy into. It was so well trodden down that it was simple to think that way. But as soon as you start to have this new thought, and you begin to consciously focus on where you're heading in the positive, we begin to go down a new route of that garden of your brain. And that will become the new pathway. That will become the new way of being. But you are the walker. You're the person who has to tread down that path. Now, naturally, my hypnosis audios are going to be very valuable for that, because that's communicating with your unconscious mind. But say you don't want to invest in that, or you don't want to do that side of things. This is something you can do all the time. It all starts here with your thoughts. So go ahead and intend to buy into success, buy into wholeness, buy into peace, buy into who you are, which is someone who is love, who is powerful and courageous in every way, rather buying into your story, because your story is not you. And if it was you, you can begin to create a new story to live by, because that is the truth. You are in control. So rather being a product of your story, you allow your new thoughts to be the new destination as to where you're heading. I think you're going to really enjoy setting this up as a new strategy, and you will see transformational results very quickly if you do this in a habitual way, just teaching your unconscious mind that there's a new way, there's a new pathway we're heading down now, and that is one where I'm buying into my success, I'm buying into my potential.
When we were young, when we became an adult, it was impossible to rewire the brain. That's what they thought many years ago. If they thought once you become an adult, once you become like a teenager, it is impossible to be able to rewire the brain anymore. But in fact, that is a lie. It is a lie, because we can rewire our brain any given second of any day that we want. And we have to be able to decrease the worry muscle, or decrease the issue muscle, and actually flex the positivity muscle. Now, to paint a picture in your mind, what we have to do is imagine as if our brain was like a circuit board. Now, the circuit board is probably, if we've had an issue for a period of time, we will begin to light up that pathway in the circuit board itself. So every time we have a certain thought, that circuit board begins to light up down a certain pathway. And if we keep on having the same thought, regardless of its nature, regardless of if it's negative or if it's positive, if it's holding us back or if it's unleashing us forward, the more we begin to do that, the more we will increase that circuit board. Sorry, my phone on the right here is going crazy, like password things popping up. But so yes, it's like our brain's like a circuit board. The more times we begin to have that thought, regardless of positive or negative, the more it begins to light up that circuit board. The more it becomes second nature. the more it becomes an unconscious process, the more the neuroplasticity either increases or decreases. It begins to strengthen or it begins to break depending on the thought. So if you have your brain as a circuit board, we go down that one route in our brain and we keep on going that way, it will continue to stay the same. It will continue to light up that circuit pathway. And it in fact strengthens either the solution or the issue, depending on the type of thought that we're having continuously throughout the day or the type of feeling that we have throughout the day. So the more times we think that thought, the more the circuit board begins to light up in our brain, metaphorically, of course. Now, if you could imagine, if we start to light up a new pathway, it would mean we're putting less energy down the circuit of the old way, okay, or the way you've been doing it most of the time. So you could say the anxiety pathway, or the limiting belief pathway, or the negative association, the negative reaction, fear, phobia, depression, anxiety, fear. I just said fears, but you know what I mean, the issue. The more times we go down that way, it strengthens, but the time we begin to think a new thought, there's less of an option down the old pathway. And the more times we begin to think in the new way, we will begin to strengthen that too. That is just how the brain works. This isn't just woo la la stuff or positive thinking. It is a direct interaction with your unconscious mind, the biology of who you are as a person. So absolutely, we can rewire our brain. We want to be able to rewire it in a positive way though, correct? We want to be able to rewire it in a way that allows us to get results, allows us to experience the feelings that we want, to have the empowering belief systems, to have all the things that we want, to get our brain to work on our side. Now, if you know me and my videos, my audios, and everything I do, it is about training up the conscious mind, but I want to be able to give you a conscious and also an unconscious process. That is what I really want to speak to you today, because the more times we do this at a conscious level, it will feed through to the unconscious mind, which is the second nature of the issue, the things which we can't stop. We're actually feeding the circuit a new pathway, a new way of being. Now, before I get to that process, why does our brain go down that negative pathway? Well, usually it could be an impact event, or it can be so a significant emotional event, or it could be a gradual build-up. And how I explain that when I work with people with phobias, either phobias are created through a one-time event where the brain has decided, has made a neuroassociation to something external of themselves, like a dog or like a car or whatever the phobia is, and it makes an association that every time I see that dog or every time I get into a car, my body reacts to that. So the pathway, the neural networks go, oh, there's a car there, I cannot get in that car, I have a driving phobia, or heights, or like I said, a fear of dog. You can change this out to fear of presentations, public speaking. It could be social phobia. Every time you're in that situation, it just fires it up. Your brain has been trained, it's been wired on a neurological neurological level to be and act and react to that situation. Now, as we begin to act and react to that situation, it strengthens that circuit pathway. Like I said, there's just an analogy for you to try on in your mind. I mean, ultimately, it's just how the brain, the neural networks fire off, depending on every time you interact with the outside world, based on the decisions that we've made in the past. And they're usually unconscious decisions, not conscious ones, but things that we've done in the past, the events that we've gone through, which our body then reacts to it and begins to develop an association to those things. So that's what we have to begin to rewire. Now, I'm going to give you this process right now of how you can begin to rewire your brain so your body begins to experience it in a new way. Now, what is this good for? Now, first of all, it's good for everything. I do this, my clients do this. You can literally use it for anything. It can be for any issue that you experience: blushing, anxiety, fears, phobias, depression, negative self-talk. It can be even for the people who have gone through a breakup and they want to experience less of those kind of emotional pangs when they think of that person. Okay, so you can use this process. I'm going to tell you how to do it. And it's pretty much going to be the same strategy, but you can be able to fill in the blanks according to what you experience in your world. So it's going to be very simple. So as I said, our brain is wired up. It's wired up to have an issue because it's become second nature. It's become a habitual process, a strategy that we've created over time through small events, so they build up, or one big event, or whatever it is for us personally. I mean, you know more than me about that, and you probably know a lot clearer from last Sunday's 1 hour plus video that we did live. Like I said, that's on my podcast, so you can always listen to that. Also on YouTube, I think I've made it all public there as well. So we can begin to get clearer on that using that. But even if you don't have that, you can still utilize this process. It's really clear, it's really simple. But ultimately, every issue that we have, you will have a certain association to. Okay, you'll have an association to it. You will have a connection to it. If you did not have an association, if you did not have a connection, if you did not have a judgment or a decision by it, it would not be an issue. It would have no value over you. It would have no power or strength over you. So we must have an unconscious strategy, association, a judgment, a decision, one or all of those, and maybe a few other things I didn't quite mention there, but you get the gist. We have this relationship to the issue. So here's what we do. Let's take the example of, let's say anxiety. I mean, that's a very generalized one. But let's just say every time we go into a work meeting, we start to get anxious. Now, if we think of whatever your issue is, or in this example, going to meetings, you'll have an association in your mind of what that is to you. So you'll have a picture in your mind, like a visualization. Doesn't matter if it's clear or vague or whatever it is, but you'll have a visual, usually, not always, but it's always visual to a certain degree, but it'll also have an auditory, like a sound maybe to it, and it'll absolutely have a feeling. Because if it doesn't have feeling, then the chances are it's not an issue for you. So when you think of your issue, you're going to have a visual, auditory, and kinesthetic representation of that. So eyes, ears, feelings, okay? There are main ones. Yes, we've got taste and smell, but usually when it comes to issues, unless you have a phobic reaction to certain foods, smells definitely and taste can be attached to that. But you can be conscious of that depending on your situation. But you have an association. So imagine in my mind, I am the person with the issue. And as I think of my issue, say that every time I go into a work meeting, I think of that image right here. And I have an association. When I think of it, of course it doesn't make me feel great. It doesn't make me feel maybe overwhelmed because I know it's not there right now. But when I think of it, I have an attachment, a connection, a judgment, a decision, an association with it visually, auditory, kinesthetically, and so on. So when I have that connection, here's what we must do. We must then consider the opposite of the issue, or how you would like to be different. So we begin to imagine or hallucinate or bring up feelings or sounds as to how we want to be different, or how you have been different in different situations. Because if you have anxiety when it comes to presentations or work meetings, you may not have anxiety when it comes to your meeting your friends. So yes, you can meet people, but depending on the context, you'll have certain positive or negatives. So you can think of past events where you've been great, or you can just hallucinate, visually, auditory, or kinesthetically, how you'd like to be different. Okay, so just like imagining how you would like to be. And here's what we do. So we've got the image in front of us, or the issue, the association, and straight away we think of the new thing of how we'd like to be different, or a past situation where we were fun. And we begin to put it just on top of it. So it's like a stack of cards. We have one card here of the issue, and then we place another one on top of it with the resources that we would like. And that's another thing. You can actually put, just say, confidence there or whatever resource you'd like. And then what we do is we bring back the issue in front again. And you think, why do we bring it back? Well, here's why. Because now we're going to put back that old positive state or the positive hallucination and then add another one on top of it. So now we have the issue right behind and then we've got a positive and a positive on top of it. And then we bring the issue back and then we add a positive, and another positive. And then we bring the issue back, and this time what do? A positive on top of it, another positive, and another positive, and I think another positive. And then we keep on repeating that process. It's almost like every time we think of the issue, and you can do this for like 10-15 minutes a day or every so often or whenever you experience the issue, but you think of the issue, your association to it, and then you add the positive resource or how you would like to be on top of it. Then you bring back the old one and then you put 2 on top. Then you bring back the old one, you put 3 on top. You bring the old one back, you put 4 on top, bring back the old one, and then put 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now here's what happens. Do you remember when I said about the network in our brain, like the circuit board? What we're doing is for every negative, which we have as a reality, we have that association right now, that's the issue. But now we have a new circuit board, a new pathway, and now another one. Then we go back to the old one, and then we go through a new one, a new one, a new one. So what we're doing here is we're overwhelming the unconscious mind with some beautiful resources that we'd like to have. And we keep on doing that. We keep on building it up and it becomes second nature. It becomes a habit. And that is how we begin to rewire our brain. Because here's what will happen. Every time you think of the issue, your brain will automatically remember and go, I want that solution. Oh, there's another resource, and then there's another resource, and then there's another resource, and then there's another resource. It will automatically filter through from the issue to all the resources being stacked up on top of it all by itself. That is rewiring the brain. That is like hacking the brain to your advantage. You're dictating how you want your brain to react. When we begin to do this, you begin to override old negative associations, because every time you go into in that example that I said, the work meeting, your brain will remember the positive states you've put on top of it. It will just keep on doing it, and every time you have a good event, you begin to put that one on top of it. So it starts this momentum thinking, this avalanche of positivity. Now, I also said an example if you've gone through a breakup. So let's just say you have a bad association. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this if you have hurt, anger, sadness when it comes to a person who's no longer in your life and you just don't want that association. Now, the way I'm not very happy about, but people can use this, is you begin to think of the things which happened in that relationship which wasn't really good for you, okay? So sometimes, despite knowing how much that person did not help us, like it could be physical abuse, mental abuse, it could bring us down, that can be a reality. So we begin to think of that negativity. As I said, it doesn't really feel ecological to me, but that is one way that people can do it. It just begins to strengthen the realization that person's not for you. Now, the ecological way for me is this way. So every time we think of the issue, or the issue as in the person, the ex-person we no longer want to associate in our life, we begin to put how we want to be different once again. So every time I think of the ex, we begin to go, bang, actually, I'm going to live my life this way. I'm going to start achieving X, Y, Z. I want this kind of person. I want that kind of person. I want this kind of value in my relationship. And after a while, that person gets less and less and less, smaller and smaller and smaller on an energetic, emotional level that it no longer gives that strong feelings of, let's say, that feeling of grief or anger, sadness, hurt, and so on. We begin to strengthen it up in a positive way. Yes, like I said, you can do this, like the negative associations to that person, which may have happened in your relationship. But I really like the idea of just positivity. Let that person go on their merry way, out of existence, doing what they need to do, and you to be left in a powerful emotional state, which means you don't have anger or dislike. You just move on. I think that's the best way when it comes to making changes. That is what I really think we can begin to do to rewire our brain. That is what we have to do. That is how we begin to experience the world in a different way. It becomes, and by the way, I like the idea for you to see yourself in a dissociated way. Now, what do I mean by dissociation? I mean, when you think of think of yourself in the issue, the conflict, or the association. When it comes to the positive state, see yourself in that picture, how you would like to be. So that means it's like watching yourself on a movie screen or seeing yourself on a photo. You're seeing yourself over there, rather looking through your own eyes. It's far more powerful. It really tells the brain how you want to be in the future when we do it in a dissociated way. That is a really good way of doing things. So I really hope you enjoyed that today. That is my tip of how you can rewire your brain when it comes to the neuroplasticity, the neural networks, the neural connections, your unconscious mind, the second nature unconscious processes which do not support us, by overriding it, reconnecting to our unconscious mind and getting what we want. So are you ready to be able to understand about limiting beliefs and how to let them go? So the first thing we want to do is really consider what the beliefs are about and how they're actually holding us back. So here's the thing. Many people try to change their environment. Okay, so let me put it really clearly for you. If you blush, or if you have anxiety, or if you have depression, you will try to change your environment. You'll try to escape the thing that you're fearful of, anxious of, going into public speaking situations, you name it. You will try to move yourself out of the environment which is giving you stress. That is the number one thing we usually do. I know I did it when I was younger. I did whatever I could to get out of situations which I did not think I could cope with. The things I felt fear from, stress, worry, doubts, whatever it is, we just instinctively try to move ourselves from that environment. Now, you probably know this. Changing your environment will not change your happiness and will absolutely not give you more freedom. In fact, you're losing your freedom because you're limiting your environment. You're saying, well, I can't go in this situation because I experience these symptoms in that situation. So the first thing we do is try to change our environment, but it never works. It never gives us emotional freedom or to do what we really want. And it does give us a sense of ease at first because you're out of the situation, but I don't want you to just have to keep on moving from one situation to another because of what we're experiencing, or you could say what we're reacting to when it comes to our environment. We should be able to react in a resourceful way. Everything I do is about getting you, your mind, your body in the right state to be able to react in any situation far more comfortably. That is our plan in everything that I do. So, well, one thing we do is we try to change the environment. I always like the quote, it's like trying to comb your hair by combing the mirror. So also it means that you're trying to change the external, or you're trying to change everything there, but really we've got to change something happening in here. That's what we have to do. So the next thing, when we think about that, what dictates what we do in our environment? Well, it's our behaviors. The things that we do in our behavior will have a big effect. So if you start to create empowering behaviors which serve you, and let go of the ones which don't serve you. So if it was anxiety or fear, that's a behavior that we run. It's an emotional one, it's a physical one, it's a reactive one. So our behavior, if we can let go of the negative behaviors, then that's going to be a great thing. So every time we go into our environment, we're using more empowering, powerful behaviors. But the problem is, if we don't have the capabilities, we don't feel like we've got the capabilities, it will really not serve our behaviors or the environment. Think of it like a pyramid. Right at the bottom is our environment, above that is our behaviors, and then if we don't feel like we got the capabilities, because the capabilities dictate our behaviors, and what we do, our behaviors will change how we react in our environment. So many people try to change their behavior, try like quitting smoking, they try to mix things up, take on like chewing gum. If you're trying to lose weight, you'll do something like go to the gym, but it's not quite working. Something's not happening because it's not about the behaviors either. It's more about our capabilities. Now, what dictates our capabilities? Well, you know it because I said it on the title of this video, which is our beliefs. Our beliefs will dictate what we think we can or cannot do, i.e. our capabilities. Whether you think you're right or wrong, you are right. And someone can give you all the examples in the world, but if your belief is telling you one thing, you're not going to really thrive in that example or that situation or in that environment, because your beliefs dictate your capabilities. You could be thinking about going for that job interview, but if your belief is not being good enough for that job, or feeling like you're going to be found out. Who's had that one, by the way? When maybe you're in a job right now, or you think about going for a job, but you think you're going to be found out for not being good enough at that job, or people are somehow going to find out that you're a fraud, and you're not going to be able to deal with that situation, or deal with the job, or deal with the career, because our limiting belief is telling us something. So our belief system is having a big effect on what we believe we can and cannot do. So that has an effect on our behaviors, and that has an effect on our environment. So rather trying to change your environment, rather trying to change your behavior, and rather trying to change your capabilities, we should be focusing on our belief system. When we change our identity, or what we identify with within ourselves in a situation, we will change our capabilities. We will be opening up to far more. If you don't believe you're good enough, it will absolutely make you create thoughts and ideas of not being capable, bad behaviors, and performing poorly in the environment. That's not going to cope. That's not going to allow us to thrive. We need to change our belief system. Now, belief systems make up our world. As I said, whether you think you're right or wrong, you are right. Henry Ford said that. And the belief system that we hold will dictate the results that we're getting. If you have a most profound belief about money and abundance, then you will more likely seek out more money in a positive way. But if your belief about money is it's the root to all evil, it's hard to come by, it comes quick and goes faster, those are type of belief systems which are not going to help us be abundant. If you have a belief system about relationships, so all men or all women do X, Y, Z, or once again, you don't believe you're good enough for a relationship, you are not going to succeed very well in relationships, because it's going to have an effect. Your belief has an effect on your capabilities in that relationship, your behavior in that relationship, and the environment which is your relationship. And you can spread this out for everything. Whether it be losing weight, whether it be a fear of phobia, whether it be about confidence, whether it be about public speaking, whether it be, I don't know, you name it, whatever it is, we need to change our belief systems. Our belief systems will guide us to success, or it will actually cripple us and really make us lose focus and see less opportunity. So you may be thinking, well, how do I change that? Well, I want to give you some quick fire ways. Now, these ways will not necessarily completely transform your belief system, because it can take time. But it's worth the investment of time, because you're going to reap the rewards of success in the long term. Excuse me. When you created a belief system, and when I say you, it's like more like your unconscious mind, it's because you've been going through events, or people have been telling you something, lots of situations which creates that habit, that idea for it to be true. For example, if you have 10 bad relationships and that 10 past people cheated on you, of course you're going to start to come up with a belief system that all men or all women cheat. If you have a bad track record about money, you're going to have a belief system which is not going to support you about money. It happens all the time, but the day you start to change subtly and consciously, it will filter through to your unconscious mind and it will become a new way of being. I always say this metaphor, you've heard it before if you've listened to my work. It's like an overgrown garden. If you go down the one route, it's going to be really well trodden. It's going to be hard at first to divert into a new route because it's all overgrown. But after a while, you go down that new pathway in that overgrown garden, it will become easier and easier and easier. So you have to begin to train up your mind to success, and this is what we're going to be talking about. So one thing I really like to ask myself is, not a lot of people will actually tell you this, by the way. Lots of coaches, lots of trainers, lots of personal development people, they don't give you this kind of information. I don't know why, because it's very, very true and it's so vital. So what we have to do, one of the first things is, we have to ask ourselves, is this belief actually mine? Strange question. But think about it. Is this belief actually yours? Now, this belief that you may have taken on could be because your parents may have had that belief. If they had a poor track record of money, the chances are you see them in your environment, you see them with their beliefs and behaviors and capabilities and their environment of poor money, you will begin to think that is true. But is it a reality? Absolutely not. Because there are people out there who are very good at money, who are very abundant and just attract it, and we think, wow, they're so lucky. It's not that they're lucky, it's about training up the mind and acting upon it with conviction. So we have to ask ourselves, is the belief that we have about ourselves or about that situation, where it be interviews and all the things I've mentioned, is it actually mine? Is it something that was spoken to me for a period of time and then I took it on? Is it because it was in my awareness most of my life that I took it on? We have to really ask ourselves. Lots of people have weight issues, and those weight issues may not be yours, but it could be generations old. People who try to eat everything on the plate because they are told you must eat everything on your plate, because before then it was harder to have food, it was harder to come by it, even before then, like rationing in the war. It was almost like this belief system kicked in, which was important at that time. Like in the war, rations, it was important to make sure you utilize your food well. But does it mean, and is it applicable for us right now? No, it's not. It may not be true right now. So we have to really think, is this belief our own? Is it our parents? Is it, I'm going to get to a real cool one in a second. Is it our friends? Is it generations old? Is it even hundreds of years old? It could literally be a long time. We see examples around the world of old belief systems not working today. And all we have to do is look at the news, look at people in our life, and sometimes we think, wow, where did they get that belief from? And it could be because it was passed down. Now, there's the other one, as I was about to say, maybe the belief is not our own, but it's absolutely what society wants you to believe. So consider that. What does society want you to believe about the world around you? Think about it. There's marketing everywhere. There's advertising everywhere. There's always different agendas for different things because it's a selling game, it's a selling world, and we are being bombarded with advertisements of everything around us. How we should look, what we should buy, how we should be. All these things is the belief that we have about ourselves, like not being good enough, actually ours, or is it society's belief of what it's created? Now, when we think about that question, is a belief actually ours or someone else's that we've taken on through watching the world around us or experiencing the world around us? the nature of understanding and getting clear on that will begin to shift your perception. And I'll tell you why. Because if you have a limiting belief for a long time, it becomes your identity. It becomes your identity as to why you are like you are and who you are as a person. But when we begin to wake up and ask ourselves the question, is this belief mine or someone else's? It will begin to create that 1-2 degree shift, which will make you think differently. It will cause you to really get conscious of what's happening into the world. When we do that, that belief, although still there, will not hold as much water. It's almost like we're just loosening up that model, that belief of the world around you and of yourself so much that it doesn't hold tight anymore. It's less strong as it was before. So that's the first thing we have to ask ourselves. Is the belief our own or someone else's? Then we have to ask ourselves, was this belief created at a time of our life when we needed that belief? So let me get clear on that. Say, for example, someone has the belief of not being good enough, which I think is very common around the world. We don't believe we're good enough or capable or worthy of something. Now, the belief system like that can happen in our later years, but sometimes it'll be when we're very young. 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, 15 years old. We usually start to get those belief systems at a young age. Now, it's not always true, but it can be true, okay? So if this resonates with you, then this is going to, once again, is going to create another 2-3 degree shift if we add these apps, stacking them up in our favor. So if we have that belief system was created when we were young, we have to ask ourselves a question. Based on the resources I had back then, I created that belief system because of that. I did not know it better. I did not have the knowledge and wisdom as an adult, so that's why I may have created that belief system. It kind of makes sense. If you had a fear or phobia as a child because maybe a dog was extra playful, you did not have the knowledge and wisdom as an adult to be able to distinguish between what is right or wrong. Your body just overreacted in that one moment for the best of intentions. So we have to consider, is this belief ours or someone else's? And also, was this belief actually created at an age when we didn't have all the knowledge and wisdom? And the knowledge and wisdom we have now, the nature of watching this video will change things, but having that openness and awareness, once again, will create that another 2-3 degree shift in our thinking and loosen that belief system even more. It will hold less water in that belief system because we're now becoming aware of the truth of the nature of that belief. The belief system may have been created at a young age because that's all we could do with all the knowledge and wisdom and the resources we had at a young age. We didn't have all the things that we needed. So now we can begin to consider that new way of being. We can think, okay, the belief may be someone else's. It was actually created when I was a young age, and that's not true anymore. Then we have to ask ourselves, number 3, we have to look at other beliefs in the world which are contrary to the belief that we have about ourselves or about that environment. When we do that, it will begin to once again create that other shift, the 2-3 degree shift. If you have a belief that about yourself and then you begin to seek out other people who are once like you, who overcame that issue, it will cause you to think there's an opportunity for you to do the same. The more examples or the counter examples to the belief that you have about yourself will cause that belief system you have to be less true. Once again, it might not make the complete shift, but by looking for counter examples which disprove the belief about yourself or about the situation, even just the possibility of overcoming it. Like I said, finding people in your environment or in the world around you who have overcome this, it will allow that belief system to be less. It's causing your brain to rather focus on the limiting belief to actually looking for alternatives of how people have overcome that limiting belief or that capability or that behavior or the environment. So that's the third tip. All these are creating little shifts on the inside. Now, the other one we've got to consider is, what kind of belief do we want? If we don't want the belief system that we presently have, we have to then consciously consider the type of belief that you do want. When we have to do that, when we do that and formulate it, we're telling our unconscious mind, look, we're kind of understanding now that belief could be actually someone else's. We're kind of understanding now that belief may have been created when we were very young. We didn't have all the experience to make the best decision about a belief. And now we're considering other examples which disprove that belief to a certain degree. And now, speaking to the unconscious mind, I want you to start running this new belief system. The conscious mind is the goal setter, the conscious mind is the goal setter, the unconscious mind is the goal getter. So when you start to create consciously the type of belief that you want, even if you write it down, whether it becomes a mantra, whether you listen to one of my hypnosis tracks, whether you just hallucinate it in your mind every day, seeing yourself out there in a dissociated way, as if you're watching yourself in a cinema screen, it will cause your unconscious mind to consider that alternative. You're pre-teaching, and that's the key word here, you're pre-teaching, that's a key word, I say it wrong, the pre-teaching your unconscious mind how to be different. Not how you are or how you've always been, but how to be different in the positive. When you begin to hallucinate it in your mind, if you're not great at hallucinating, you feel it, you hallucinate it in feelings or sounds or whatever it may be, you turn up the music, which really drives you forward and makes you feel really good, and then you think about how you would like to be different. When you begin to do that, the neuroassociation changes in your brain. It will begin to adapt and create new pathways to you, which will allow you to get better and better with the new belief system. Like I said, it takes time, but if you do those steps, you're reframing, you're getting new perspectives, you're really loosening up that limiting belief, and then you're starting to direct your mind to the type of belief that you do want. And by hallucinating it, by, like I said, reading, educating yourself, investing your time and money in developing yourself as a person, that should be your number one investment, by the way, yourself, because the best you can be is going to cause others in your life to be happier as well. And you're going to get more better at your job, your career, your finances, your health, your emotional well-being, you name it. When you begin to invest in yourself, whether it be just through time at the very least, you will start to see that change. You're beginning to cultivate your thoughts. You're starting to direct your thoughts, your feelings, and ideas to this new belief system. So, like I said, the beliefs create or dictate your capabilities. Your capabilities dictate your behaviors, and your behaviors dictate your environment. Many people focus on the environment. Change your environment, quit the job, go to a new job, change city, change state, change country. You try to move out of the environment which is giving you stress because you haven't got the right behaviors, and you don't feel like you got the capabilities because the belief that you have about yourself or the situation is creating all of that. What we have to do is change the top tier, the belief system, by the steps I just said, a little bit more, like I said, through hypnosis, all these kind of things, just reading books, educating yourself, whatever it is, watching these every day or listening to these every day. The more you do it, the more you retrain your mind to the truth. What is the truth? That you are worthy, that you are capable, and you are full of potential. You really are. We just have to pre-teach your unconscious mind how to be different. So when you do that, your beliefs will now start a new set of open capabilities, which will give you freedom in more behaviors, the way that you act and react into the lowest tier of your environment. That is a great way of really understanding how beliefs are having an effect on your world and how to let them go.